Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the What's the Scuttlebutt Podcast, your favorite World War II-based podcast. And joining us tonight is the one and only Gene and Debbie. Now, Debbie is the granddaughter, and Gene is the son of what we, the general public, know as Wild Bill Guarnere.
There was so many different groups of World War II, Marines, Navy, whatever, Army, Airborne, and a lot of them didn't stick together at all.
Yeah.
They didn't have reunions. My dad started maybe running reunions, I think, at 47, 48, when he was able, he was in the hospital with Joe Toy for a year in 1946, 47. And what he did was he just became the centerpiece, and he loved doing this. So and they would get together, and then they would try and get one more person next year. You'd bring somebody, and that's how it grew. And I think one year they had like 85 of the men were there in California. And he was close to a lot of these people that I heard their names. I knew of them. I'll tell you a real quick story where my dad had a heart attack. No, he didn't have a heart attack. I'm sorry, not a heart attack. He was getting blood clots. And this is probably in 1969. He was getting blood clots, and they took him to, at that time, the naval base, the hospital was there. And they were doing the tests on his back and this and that and all these tests. And they narrowed it down to, it was his wooden leg.
Prosthetic.
It was made of maple. And his leg was basically, I told this story before, when he had his leg in his prosthetic, it was his bare leg. There was no stocking on it or nothing.
Wow.
So the way he put his leg on.
And it was heavy.
Yeah, the leg was heavy as hell. It was maple. And it just bent the knee. And here's the way he put his leg on, for people who are not familiar with this. And I did tell this at the World War II museum that time. He wore a stump sock. A stump sock was open at both ends. So when he would put his leg on, my brother and I carried his leg down from upstairs to many times. So we were familiar with this. He put his leg on. But before he put his leg on, he put the stump sock on. And he put the stump sock on. And I'm sure he used powder, whatever he used. And then he had a metal valve in the bottom, like a screw, screw valve.
Mm-hmm.
He would take the stump sock and push it into the valve, out the hole, and he put the leg on, and he would pull the stump sock off his leg. So his stump was basically bare inside the wood. But what boggles my mind as I got older, it was a vacuum. I don't know how his leg stayed on. I have no idea. He went all over. He went to work. He did everything. He drove stick, which he wasn't allowed to do. But it was amazing that, and as I got older, I'm thinking, how did this guy drag this wooden leg around on vacuum?
Yeah.
He straps or hooks or like no bungees or nothing like that. It was just amazing. And he would give the wooden legs out to the kids up the street when he got a new one. It was amazing. One kid got the wooden leg up the street, he put it in the basement, and his sister went down and screaming because she saw this leg laying on the floor. It was a big leg. It was heavy.
They'd be worth a lot of money right now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You can make a table out of it. 4 feet.
I'm just sitting back enjoying it. So, for the listeners that don't know, was telling Gene earlier, growing up in South Jersey, I just appreciate hearing his accent. It's kind of taking me home to that Philly accent. But we've got a lot of similarities. My last name has been butchered since we came over from Portugal. It was Cavaceta, and the first paycheck my great-grandfather got in the Navy said Joe Copsetta, and I guess that's me.
And to them, that was good enough, kid. Look, I got the money.
That's it. Yeah. The story goes, if he was going to fix it, he was afraid he wouldn't get paid, so I guess I'm Copsetta now. But similar things where some of the sisters didn't adopt the Copsetta name. But what ended up happening was his parents adopted the Copsetta name, which was really interesting. And then my dad's the oldest of 12 kids. They grew up in the 50s and 60s, of course. So a lot of those same similarities. It was definitely a different time. And hearing your dad's story and thinking about my family, it really does highlight how different things were, but not just that, how different men were. And, I think that's something that we really like to emphasize at What's the Scuttlebutt is, every time you ask a World War II veteran about the greatest generation, they always point to their parents. But your dad and his comrades, they really were the greatest generation. And, I did a tour overseas as well in the Army, and I thought every single day about how it could have been worse. And I thought about the World War II vets. You know, when we went over the Burma and Iraq, we weren't hitting Omaha Beach. And when we got back from a mission, you know, guys were pulling off their body armor, sitting down and playing Halo, you know, or some video game to get their mind off of stuff. Or, you know, they were getting mail from home. And, you know, I lived in Saddam Hussein's son's palace. So when we got back from a mission, we had a gold toilet.
Yeah, things were different. And also, to that generation, and I don't know, I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sure some of my friends are like that. You couldn't go up to your father and say, you know, I love you. You had to say, hey, love you, man. Yeah, I mean, it had to be like a joke. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it was. There wasn't that intimacy there that there is today. And my mother was completely different. You know what I'm saying? But with your dad, like when I went in the service, my father said, take it easy, kid. I mean, he didn't, you know, like it was, see you later. He didn't flinch or budge.
He got softer in his old age, though.
Yeah, but it was
Like him.
Yeah.
Gene, what years did you serve?
I got drafted in 65. And I went to Vietnam in 66, 67. And my father, at that time, you can go to the airport and get in the train. And he just said, yeah, take it easy, kid. I mean, there was and I didn't join I was a paratrooper. I didn't join the paratroop because he was in the paratroopers. I joined the paratroop because I was 19 and didn't have the brains to get out of the Marine. I thought this would be great, you know, the paratroopers. And, you know, it is what it is. It's a different time. Like you said, Vietnam, when I was there, completely different than what my dad was in. They were going home when the war was over. He came home in a plane with missing a leg.
Yeah.
And they sent his Tommy gun home with him. Not on the plane. Johnny Martin brought it home with him.
Didn't Babe send one home piecemeal? And his wife made him get rid of it years later.
Babe, I don't know if Babe brought a Tommy gun home. Babe did something. He did bring his guns home. And Babe, my dad even had Lugers and stuff. He gave it all away. I talked to Don Malarkey. I said, Don, how many Lugers do you have? He said, let me see. I think I had about 60.
Wow.
He said, I threw about 30 or 40 of them away, and I put him in a shit can beside the officers again, and he burned them. This is like these guys were completely different than.
When the book came out, was that the first time your family really knew in depth of what he went through?
Not the book.
The book came out, what, 92?
92, the book came out.
You know when I knew when the book came out? 96, my mother told me.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't do that. Listen, I was at the reunion, I think, in 94. It was at Valley Forge. That's when Sobel's sister came. She was invited.
Yeah.
And she came to the reunion and kind of worked through some of the things that were, you know, happening in the book of Sobel. And I was there. My daughter at that time was 2. And she was walking all over giving
not me.
Not her. She was always older. And then, so, yeah, my youngest daughter was 2, and she was handing out, bringing beers to the, you know, Shifty and all the guys that were there. And I didn't know anything about a book. And they were tipping her. And there was a lot of people there. My father had the mummers there. You know that from South Jersey. And I didn't know nothing about no book. And then in 96, my mother said, you know, there's a book out, the Band of Brothers. They might make a movie, but, you know, they're all crazy and this and that. And my mom died in 97. So the next thing I knew, my father was doing this Band of Brothers thing with Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg.
This has been a Digital 410 production.